All right, here we are. I just wanted to give you a kind of a quick update on this is video 2, and it's all about finishing up the electrical. As you can see, I've ran quite a bit of extra electrical here, and what I decided to do is while I had the walls open, I decided to put in some extra wall outlets across the bottom here, and then I put in an extra outlet up here in this corner to handle the all the electrical stuff like the computer, the home assistant, that kind of stuff. I have the wireless, or not the wireless, I have the internet coming in here from the house. And so this will allow me to control all that over here. The 6000 XP is going to be mounted right here on this center, this stud. And then I replace the electrical outlet, wall outlet coming out of here, not the wall outlet. I replaced the wire coming out of this with 6 gauge wire to come down and to come right into the 6000 XP here. And I also ran 4 lines for PV, 2 coming from that corner of the shed and 2 coming from that corner over there. That way I can bring in all the PV from the outside and it'll all come in right here. Now these are only 15 amp lines. I just use standard Romex for this piece of it, so I will switch from PV wire to Romex as in a switch box as they enter this building. That way I can run this Romex in the roof. As I was doing this and I noticed this wire across the floor here, and let me show you what I mean about that. As I'm doing this and I noticed this wire across the floor, as you can see it ran all the way across the floor here and out the door and over to the solar panels. I decided that I figured it would just be easier to go ahead and run this stuff now. So you can see here from this view, over in this corner, I have the 2 lines coming down for the PV to come into the corner. And then over here, I went ahead and dropped the line from the ceiling. I don't know if you can see that far up. Let me just move that a little bit. I don't want that light to get in your way, so let me get a little closer here. You can see here, I got this line to come down. I did have to carve out this wall. There was a stud that ran across right here. So I had to carve down and drill up into this stud here to get that line to run down to connect this plug here. And this is where the freezer and kitchen equipment, this will be a double outlet here. I did get the everything over here capped off and plugged. I got the this is running the food trailer at this moment, and this light switch obviously is for the roof lights here. It controls them, and so all the outlets and everything are live. Now the way I did that is a method which we won't talk about. What I've started doing now, our next step, is going to be to take the plywood, because we are going to have this 1/2 inch plywood as the back for the 6000 and for the inverters and the batteries here. And this entire wall will become the, I'm going to turn that light off and maybe you can see it. Oh yeah. So this entire wall, as you can see, it has all of the PV wire coming in from the top here and over here. It has all the electrical outlets coming in from here and down below here. I did install an extra 3 outlets across the bottom, down across the bottom here. One there, a hookup box here because I didn't really know how I wanted to hook them up. My suspicion is that I'll hook these up through the one of the inverters, but I haven't really decided which one yet. And I may just run it right up to the circuit breaker box and run it there. But I'm thinking I want to run these low outlets off of a second inverter, and I'm thinking of using the Pikachu for that. And that way I can test things. I can put that on a shunt, and I can use it to test 48-volt batteries and everything. And then I will use this wall behind us that we're currently using for the 48-volt system or 24-volt system. We will use this for 12 and 24-volt testing and everything going on there. So this will kind of give us a good round 12 volt, 24 volt, and enough PV lines coming in to connect all of them and to get everything done. So now that I have most of this electrical in the wall, I want to get this plywood up over here. And so I've cut this piece here to go up in this corner, but I got to cut out this box, and this box, and it should come down to about right here. Now, what I have done to make this a little easier a little bit later now is I'm also going to try to hide all of the wires for the batteries. So I've put all the electrical wire in the walls. That's really good. But this, as you can see here, I drilled some 1-inch holes earlier today. And this is nothing more than just a support for putting up this piece of plywood. It'll go from the very top up here, right at the edge of the roof, all the way down to halfway across this. And then these holes will allow me to run battery cables behind the wall and come out right at the batteries here and be able to feed probably a bus bar. So what I'll probably do is just run it from the inverter straight down to a bus bar. And because this wall has two inverters, because this wall will have two inverters, with two inverters, they'll both be 48 volts, the 6000 XP and the 3000 EX. We will have good installation videos for both of them, but they'll both feed straight down into a battery bank that we can use one unified battery bank and use the chargers off of both to control them. And I'll have circuits across the bottom here for the 3000, and I'll have all the circuits in the entire shed running off of the 6000 XP. Now, this outlet was a last minute thought when I noticed that I had all of my equipment for my Raspberry Pi and all of that sitting here on this nest of wires all plugged in, and then ran across over here to the Venus system that runs the Victron equipment over here, and that allowed me to do all that. So then I got to thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I had a location to hook all that up? So I hooked up this electrical box. The only one I do want to add is I want to put one more box in here with some USB ports on it, so that I don't have to have USB converters. They'll be just built into the plugs here, and I can plug the devices in directly to those USB ports and work from that. I may even consider downing the 48 volts batteries that will be located in this area here and run an extra wire up to that box for the 12 volt power supply there. That sounds like a really great idea, actually, and that will allow me to power all those without the necessity of the electrical being turned on or even an inverter being in existence. All right, so here you can see I installed low outlets across this wall. And this is where the inverters will be mounted up here. We'll have the 6000 XP along that stud, and we'll have the Pikachu 3000 along this stud. Now, what I want to do is run the battery wires back behind the wall here through these holes and down to the bank that will be sitting down here. These outlets, and this will be the feed box where I can run the wire from the inverter into there and feed all of these outlets. These outlets will be used for nothing more than to help me have connections to the 3000 so that I can test and run things down. It's not gonna, I may or I may not end up putting a breaker box here depending on if I need to pull more power than I can get through a single outlet. If I do end up needing it, what I might do is basically split off in this box here and run two separate outlets and run the wire up to the Pikachu with what's left of this giant with this giant 8-AUG wire. This 8-AUG wire is going to be more than long enough. I only need about that much, and that will allow this extra 4 feet to come from the Pikachu here and down and either through the wall here and over into into a breaker box, or to separate these circuits, two circuits, one to go this way for those two outlets and one to go this way for that outlet, and that would allow me to utilize all of that power. So as you can see here, I did strip this wire off and cap it just for safety. The switch that is over here is off, but I would not want someone to accidentally flip this on thinking they were turning the power on. So I went ahead and stripped these down and capped them. That way it's perfectly safe. And I don't have a replacement yet for this light. I could probably easily put this wire up in there and use it, but this light on the outside is ugly and old, so I'm just going to get a new light before I do that. That wall plug is finished now. It is fully wired in and everything is done and it's functioning and working. Now this outlet was a little bit more challenging. If you remember correctly, this is the one that had to be fished in from the roof up here down the wall. And the problem I ran into was here, right where this, there is a stud behind the wall right here in this area. And that stud had to be drilled through, and I had to drill a hole through it and then fish the wire all the way down to this outlet here. Although this outlet is one of these porcelain outlets that kind of slips in really nice and tight and it has the wings that fold out and latch into the wood, it works sensationally. It's just a fantastic outlet. So I'll put a double outlet there and that'll easily run the refrigerator and the microwave and maybe even this freezer. A couple of little devices just for convenience out here to keep things cold. That is the plan, is to get this up, to get the inverter on the wall, and to get a battery in here so we can get that running. And then I got to do sheetrock and all of that. I'm very reluctant to do too much before I get the sheetrock done because we know what a messy mess that is. And so I want to kind of wait until it's done. At the same time, I want to do it early enough to where I'm not making other messes, but I don't want to do it before I'm really ready because since I made the original design, I've added outlets over here, I added outlets down there, I added PV wires, and so I'm just trying to make sure that all of the wires that I need, that I can hide in the walls safely, can effectively be done in the walls and make everything look nice.